Welcome to the Stats on Stats Pod, yeah.
Hey, what's going on, doctor?
Hi, how are you?
It's a vibe for sure. So how's this day going for you so far?
It's going well so far, so good. Weather's not that great, but it's Saturday, so I'm just grateful I'm not at work.
So we have a third co-host today. Her name is Candace Williams, by the way. We just found out that y'all have never met, which is crazy.
The internet's a big place. Hi. How are you? Where are you, by the way?
I'm currently in the DMV area, but I'm originally from New York.
Okay, nice. You said weather wasn't good, so I was wondering. We're in Florida, so I was like, it's nice here, so where is she?
It's cold outside. What you mean?
Is it? Feels good to me.
No, it's cold outside.
Okay.
But, all right. Well, we can go ahead and get into it. Do you know what's about to happen before we ask the hard-hitting questions?
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so we're going to be playing That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. Go ahead, put the music in there. I love that so
I hate you.
All right, so here are the rules. We're going to play 4 covers of 90s R&B songs. You get 2 guesses, right? We're going to play the song, you're going to listen to it, and when you're ready to guess, you just say pause. You either have to guess the name of the artist or the name of the song. If you can guess both, it's a flex. Are you a 90s R&B lover?
I want to say yes, but we'll find out after the game.
Okay.
We'll find out after the game.
All right, cool. Well, then, Anthony, song number 1, please.
When I think of our untimely end and everything we could have been, I cry, baby, I cry. Okay, so it's 5 a.m., still can't sleep, took some medicine, now working, someone's clinging to me, bittersweet, cause he's head over heels, ain't that deep. Finally changed my number, got a different pager. That's Saturday.
You know it?
Absolutely not. My track record's not that great, so you're going to do wonderful compared to me.
I'm with someone new.
Oh. Man, I would have expected you to pull out, like, what is that thing where you can play it? Shazam?
Oh, Shazam?
No?
I could've.
Okay.
Yeah. I was being honest, you know. Trying to play fair.
Who was it that used, like, AI or something? Was it Tyler?
Ooh.
But anyways, Tiffany, who is it again?
That is Mariah Carey. The song is Cry Baby.
Really?
Oh, I'm a Mariah fan. I didn't even...
It's cool. We're going to add it to our playlist later. Anyways, okay, song number 2.
Okay.
Do you remember when we fell in love?
Oh, this is Michael Jackson.
Boom, give it to her. Hey. Awesome. We on
That's
a
what I'm
roll.
gonna play.
We comfortable now. She got
You
it.
want to play?
Nah, it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stop the mic.
Song number 3.
Like a movie scene in the sweetest dream, I picture us together. Now to feel your lips on my fingertips, I have to say it's even better
Same.
than I ever thought it could possibly be.
Oh.
It's perfect, it's passion, it's setting me free.
I like this one.
From all of my
I like this one.
the tears that I've cried, I have spent all of my life
Waiting for tonight.
You just gave her the answer.
No, nothing. What's the movie she's in? Not right.
Yeah, I
Not-
don't know the artist.
No. Okay. Well, go ahead. Give it up.
It is Waiting for Tonight, Jennifer Lopez. I've never heard that song, so
I have. I just can remember J-Lo.
Yeah, I remember that, but I can't remember a single movie she's in. Okay, last song, song number 4.
I'm getting tired of your shit. You don't ever buy me nothing. See, every time you come around, you gotta bring Jim, James, Paul, and Tyrone. See, why can't we be by ourselves sometime? I've been having this on my mind for a long time. I just want it to be you and me like it used to be.
Candace knows it.
Yep. Candace. Okay, Candace, who is it?
Erykah Badu, Tyrone. Call Tyrone. Redemption. Is this the point from like February 2024?
Put her on the scoreboard. Awesome. Okay. I mean, you got 1 out of 4, so it's all good. I mean, that's better than some. All right. So, are you ready to get? Oh gosh, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I guess I can't call myself a 90s R&B fan anymore.
I mean,
You can.
I don't want to say that, but anyways, however you identify, I respect it. So, anyways.
Thank you.
So if you're new here, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I'm Jordan, aka Jay, aka the chosen one, aka Big Stepper, and I am here with 2 co-hosts today.
Yes, I am Tiffany B. And
Candace Williams.
if you don't already know, this is a podcast where we get to talk to leaders in IT, cyber, technology spaces. And speaking of those leaders, today we have someone with us. She's going to tell everyone who she is, what she does, and how long she has been in her space. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Fatou Sankare. I am currently a cybersecurity engineer, and I am also an adjunct professor. I also own an organization called Datacation, which is bringing cybersecurity education to redline communities. And I've been in this space for, I want to say, about 7 to 8 years now in the cybersecurity space.
I have a question about your company name. Is it based off the song Dedication?
No. It's putting the words data and education together in one word.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. When I first read it, I was like, dedication, hard work. How does that song go? That Nipsey Hussle song.
My Nipsey.
Anyway, I'm going to give it back to people who are professional.
Okay. Well, we usually like to start with what your origin story is. So could you tell us, like, what got you into tech? What sparked your interest?
Yeah. So funny enough, I actually went to Howard University studying political science and Arabic. I originally wanted to go to law school or become a diplomat. I'm neither of those. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a diplomat. But while I was at Howard, I did have a couple of internships. One of those internships was actually at the New York Supreme Court. And every single day I got up to go to my internship, I was like, I hate my life. I just was not enjoying the law space. Courtrooms were just not anything that was interesting to me. And I was like, I don't think that I would be happy if I actually pursued this route. And then I continued doing some research, and then I landed another internship the following semester. And although I was still doing law, there were other cohorts in the internship. Other interns in the cohort who were actually doing cybersecurity. And they seemed happier. I was like, I want to do what y'all doing because y'all just seem like y'all want to be here every day. And I'm just waiting and counting down from the minute I get here, like, okay, 7 more hours to go before I can go home. So I did some research on cybersecurity, and I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool. And I'm actually not going to be too far from the whole law and investigative route that I did want to take, because cybersecurity is very similar depending on the angle or the field that you go in within cyber. And then at that moment, I was like, okay, I think I want to do cybersecurity. And I guess instead of asking questions and reaching out to people who were already in cyber, I was like, I think I'm going to just go get a master's degree, because I wanted to go to law school anyway, so I could just use that money towards a master's degree. And then while I was getting my master's degree, I was like, okay, I got to get serious and start networking, because I had a whole different type of network, right? I wanted to go into law. So everybody that I knew were like lawyers and judges and things like that. But if I want to get into the cybersecurity space, then I do need to start going to conferences and things like that. So that's kind of how the journey started. I was bored.
I have a question about that. I feel like when you were making that shift, I'm sure you talked to a lot of people about just making a shift from law school over to cybersecurity. And there probably were people you talked to who weren't familiar with the cybersecurity space at all. So did you run into people who kind of like were trying to understand why the shift and why this change that led you that way?
Yeah, so I actually didn't tell anybody that I was going into cybersecurity. I didn't tell anybody. I applied for grad school, got into the master's program, and I just sent everybody a screenshot. And it was like, they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I want to do this." And the reason being is because I feel like a lot of times growing up, there was a lot of deterrence, and it was based on fear in my community. It was a lot of, we don't know where this route can take you. We know that if you go to law school and you become a lawyer, that you're going to be successful. If you decide to be a doctor, a medical doctor, you go to medical school, you'll be fine. Like, you know, those were kind of like the trajectories that they can see. So they were like, this will work out. And because I didn't know anybody in cyber, I knew that there was going to be a lot of questions that I couldn't answer. What are you going to do when you go to cybersecurity? I don't know. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I felt like those conversations were going to be very difficult for me. So it was just easier to tell people, this is what I'm doing. And it's either you're going to follow suit or we'll figure it out as we go through. So I actually did not tell anyone, especially because I, at the moment, did not want to disappoint my mom. And I knew that for her, it's like, okay, we sent you away for you to go to law school. And now you're saying you don't want to be a lawyer. And then now you're telling me you want to do cybersecurity and you don't even know what that is. And I was like, no, but if I don't tell anybody, they won't ask too many questions. So I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, that's
No
exactly why I was asking. I was wondering what those conversations were like. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Listen,
Go.
You're like, it's your turn. No, so I wanted to ask a question about the redlining because we had a conversation earlier about that. So can you explain what that is and specifically what Datacation does when it comes to that term redlining?
Yeah, so red line communities were basically communities that were outlined, and people who lived in those communities, particularly Black and brown people, could not get loans for housing. So it was harder for them to own homes during that time. And when you look at the economic, disparities and the history within those communities, again, Black and brown people, the public school systems within those areas are probably not the greatest, but also there's probably like some sort of food desert, right? So they're probably not access to any healthy foods. There might be more liquor stores than grocery stores. So for me, I kept thinking about it from just outside of education. If people are living in these communities and they're not getting good food or essential foods that they need to actually grow and be healthy, then I know for a fact that those schools are not getting the education that they need to succeed that other communities are getting. And I say this because I grew up in a zip code where my zip code was 10456. I grew up in the Bronx. I went to a New York City public school system. And we didn't have a robotics class. We didn't have technology classes. When we used computers, most of the computers were shared computers because a lot of the times the computers were probably broken, right? So there's a lack of funding that's there. There were no coding classes. For me not to know what cybersecurity was up until that curiosity when I got to college, and other people were like, yeah, I've been coding since I was 12. I was like, yo, I was trying to read that book when I was 12, right? So it's a different type of mindset that I started to have. And I was like, wow, we're told to go traditional routes, be a lawyer, be a doctor. And that's great. If a student wants to do that, then they should definitely do that. But there are other ways that you can get into fields like cybersecurity. And I tell people all the time, it's a generational wealth builder. You don't have to go to college to be in cybersecurity, right? But if you decide to take the academic route, then that should be something that you are introduced to from a very young age. And that was one of the biggest motivators for me. I grew up in a red line neighborhood, and I knew that the resources that I had, you're kind of like one of them ones, like one of the lucky ones to actually make it out and make a name for yourself and making sure that your zip code does not define you. So I wanted to give those kids an opportunity to do something that I'm doing at my big age, but I want them to grow up doing it so that they know, like they have, I guess, more options as they're growing up. Like maybe I want to be a software engineer or an ethical hacker, and those are things that they can grow up with.
Yeah. Exposure is so important, and that's a big reason why we do this as well. And I think that something that's not talked about enough is I think IT and cybersecurity is one of the few fields where you don't need to go to school. There's a lot of actual affordable training, right? As long as you don't get duped by like the crazy $10,000, $15,000 boot camps.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, and there are, people preying on people who really don't have any money to spend. But like, there's a lot of free, affordable training. There's pay as you can training that can get you to a point where you're actually making those 6-figure salaries. I don't think people talk about that enough. And then, by the way, shout out to you actually at DEF CON. You're the reason I found out about redlining. I actually wasn't familiar with that term until you're talking DEF CON. And then I did like a deep dive and I was like, the world is so unjust. How do we fix it?
Okay, so you've described Black communities as invisible targets in cyberspace. And it's not because they're overlooked, but because systemic gaps leave them exposed. Could you break down that paradox a bit for us?
Yeah, I think it's more so, so that if we go back to the whole education part, right, the curriculum's not being introduced in schools. So a lot of people having to just, learn about these things in college. So they're already like 10 steps behind of their like white or other counterparts. When we start there, I started coding, for example, when I was in grad school, or another student starts coding when they were in undergrad. We're learning as we go, but our years of experience is not going to tie to the person who was coding since they were 12. When our applications get out there and we start looking for jobs or we start looking for internships, those home-based projects, we may not have access to a computer in our homes, right? Or know what a home labs look like, or may have money to buy a server where we can actually do these home labs. So the person who was coding since they were 12 probably have somebody in their family that's usually in technology. That's usually how it goes. Father was in technology or mother was in technology, so they grew up already knowing what these things are. So when we start applying for jobs or even internships, there's kind of like a look down feature where it's like, I'm not even going to look at this person because, one, we just know that they don't have the skill set that we're looking for. But also when you talk about mentorship within our community, now I think we're in a better space. We could do more, but we're in a better space with seeing people that look like us within this field. But a few years ago, it was pretty hard for people to actually look around the room and say like, okay, I see somebody that looks just like me. So I think it starts off there just with that education piece of it, and then moving forward and looking at, okay, once somebody gets in and get their foot in the door, how do we keep them, like the retention within tech, and making sure that people want to stay in the field and not be burnt out, but being the only person in the room, because it get a little tough. It can get a little tough.
I actually read a physical book one time. Yeah, a physical book. And this kind of goes back to the conversation about disparity, but basically in this physical book that I read, it might be called The Devil You Know, might be lying, I don't remember. I did read that physical book, but one of the thoughts within that book is a lot of that disparity actually is derived from the Great Migration, right? A lot of Black people came up north, and within that, there was a lot of solidarity, a lot of people working together, especially educated people kind of mentoring others. But then it got to a point where, they started seeking white validation. And so those successful people started to move out of those neighborhoods and they moved into the suburbs, right? So then it took away kind of like that mentorship, that thought of solidarity and that thought of building up the community. And so you just talking about that kind of reminded me of that one physical book that I read.
But that is how it can feel, though. You can feel like you're isolated. You mentioned something about being in a room where it's just you, and you said something in a podcast I watched that you did last year where you said when you're in a space you belong. You don't have to now work 10 times as hard or 3 times as hard as they say we do. How do you still feel about that? Like, is that still something you look at? Like, I don't care that it's just me. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm not competing. I'm here.
Yeah, I think for me, I know how hard I had to work to get into certain spaces, like just growing up in the Bronx, growing up in the projects, just remembering nights where it's like this, I can't keep living like this kind of situations. So when I get to certain rooms, I'm like, I've been there, done that, been through so much to get here that you're not going to gaslight me and make it feel like it wasn't God's favor. It wasn't hard work for me to get here. And then when I start having conversations with people, because I like to, pick people's brains a little bit. But sometimes I just have regular conversations with people, and then I'm looking at them and I'm like, you're not that bright. So you are not going to make me feel like I'm not supposed to be here, like at all. Because I know I had to work 10 times hard to get here. You got here through whatever. But I know how I got here. So the statement still stands. I feel like imposter syndrome is one of those things that we have to not stop talking about, because it's a real thing, but I think that we have to stop excusing it, right? Like, oh, it's just imposter syndrome. We all feel that way. Nah, if you got somewhere, you got that acceptance letter, there was something that somebody saw in you that God saw in you that, you know, allowed you to get that acceptance letter. If you got a job offer or a promotion, those are things that you deserve. And I think sometimes we try to psych ourselves out like we wasn't working hard, like we wasn't shooting in the gym, you know. So there's just certain things that we have to do where it's like, no, you're not going to make me feel like I'm inadequate or I don't belong here, because we have to be the kindest to ourselves, because the world is not that kind. It's not kind at all. So I think it starts with us. And if we tell ourselves like, yo, I belong, when I walk into any room, it's my room.
With the shoulder shrug, it's my room.
I love that. I love
It's my
that.
room. And I have to keep telling myself that sometimes I'll go and I'll walk into a room and I'm like, let me just not say nothing in this meeting. And I'll sit back. And then in my head, I'm just like, that's the dumbest thing somebody ever said. Why would you think that that's okay? And then now it's just like, I'm not even paying attention to the meeting. I'm just more so like, why would you say that? But it's like, well, if you have more important things to say, well, not important, sorry, smarter things to say, you probably should say it, right? Because sometimes they may not even know that that's not a great idea. And then they're going to start a fire that you have to put out later because you decided to stay quiet in that meeting when you could have spoke up when you had the chance. So that's how I feel a lot of the times. It's just like, you're not going to be wasting my time in this hour-long meeting, and I'm not going to say nothing because I don't want to ruffle feathers. I'm going to ruffle all the feathers in the room if I have to.
Okay.
If I have to.
This is why she a TikTok star. This right here.
Let's bring this over to Datacation, right? Because I'm over here like, you teaching me. I'm not even in class. So let's talk about how you translate that into how you talk to and mentor the students that you have in Datacation. How do you give them that same boost of confidence when they're inside of your classrooms?
Yeah, I think the first like relatability part is just the fact that like they know that like I'm from the Bronx, and they're like, you're a doctor, you grew up in the Bronx. I'm like, yeah, I went to high school in the Bronx, I went to middle school in the Bronx, elementary school, like I did everything in the Bronx. But one is just being myself. I think a lot of the times we try to, you know, kind of water down our personalities because of a job, you know, maybe a job description or a job title that we have, and it's like, oh, I'm an instructor, I have to be serious. Like there's a time to be serious, but let's be for real, like sometimes cybersecurity content could just be super dry. And I feel like if I have to teach like some dry material, then we have to make sure that it's at least fun. So being myself, but also just making them comfortable enough to know that like there's no such thing as a dumb question. Ask all the questions in the world, but giving them real life examples. For example, whenever I talk about like privilege escalation and lateral movement within ethical hacking, I always talk about like, let's say you're breaking into a house and you get into the basement. Do you want to stay in the basement? Because it's probably just like trash in there, right? And it's just like storage. I want to go to the master bedroom. I want to know where your safe is, right? So thinking about that lateral movement, how do I get into one place and then pivot and go to another area of the house? And then when we talk about like back doors, right, and post-exploitation, I said, well, if you rob a house, you probably don't have enough hands to get all the stuff that you want all at once, right? So maybe you want to come back because you know they're going on vacation next week. Right? So when you get examples like that, it makes it a little easier for them to understand why it's so important and why, you know, hackers think the way they do. And it makes teaching the content a little bit more fun, but it also makes it relatable to a lot of them, because then they start thinking about, there was one student that started talking about Roblox and how like they lost all the money in their Roblox account because they think they got hacked. And I was just like, well, can you imagine learning all of these tips and tricks and getting your money back? I was like, I'm just kidding. Don't try it. But get your money back. What would you have done, right? So we kind of walked through that scenario, and it was like more so an understanding of this is real life, and hacking is not just, or, you know, anybody can be a victim. So it's not just like an adult or a company that can get hacked. Like you can be using your phone now and playing games like Roblox and then being a victim of a cybersecurity incident.
And then babies love Roblox. I have 11-year-olds, honey.
Meanwhile, my 5-year-old nephew, he comes over to the house and he's like, let's play Xbox. And he turns it on, picks a game. I was like, I don't know how that works, so you're going to have to work it out yourself. Yeah. So I have a question that I want to ask you. It's on this paper here, if that's cool. I don't want to take away from the organic conversation, but I also don't want to miss it. Okay, so with the rapid spread, and I'm asking you this because I know you're a social media like influencer on the low. All right.
Kind of, sort of.
You like, I mean, didn't like your TikToks go viral because you just be speaking truth?
Yeah. I try to stay away from TikTok. So they're like, I don't know. I think the videos end up on TikTok, but I don't have a TikTok page because I'm scared of that app. But that's a different conversation.
I don't have TikTok either.
Yeah, I'm an Instagrammer.
I don't have TikTok either. Okay. So with the rapid spread of information online, how do you ensure that content you share remains accurate and impactful, especially when discussing complex topics like AI and cybersecurity?
Yeah, oh my God. That is actually a good question, because I had a moment where I was like, wow, if I knew I was going to be this deep in cybersecurity, I probably would not have used social media as much as I do or did prior to. But I think it's one of those things where just making sure that the content that you put out, one, is like authentic and it's you, and making sure that like making it clear. Like, so for example, I don't have TikTok. So if you see somebody that like creating a TikTok page that seems like it's you and they're just posting a bunch of your videos, you might want to adjust that to your larger audience. Like, hey, I don't have a TikTok page. Everybody go and report this page. Or, you know, you can get the page taken down yourself. As it relates to Instagram, I like to do sweeps, because sometimes I'll have like my page public, sometimes I'll have it private, but I like to just go in there and look through my followings and followers and just clean people up, because it's just like, why are you on this social media platform and you don't have no pictures and I don't know you in real life? You gotta go, because I don't know who you are. And then I do the same thing on LinkedIn, for example. Like, I don't connect with anybody that I either didn't meet at a conference personally, or like I didn't have a conversation with, because it's like, how did you find me? I mean, it's pretty easy, but also like, who are you and who sent you, kind of thing, right? So making it easier that way, but also just being very careful, because of when you talk about AI, we know that deepfakes are very real. We know that the more information that you put online makes it easier for people to just put things together. I wouldn't take a picture in front of my house, but some people do, right? So if you are constantly, you know, creating videos like spend a day in the life with me, and you're driving off, but you're showing your driveway, you're showing the car that you drive, you're constantly talking in your videos because you are an influencer and you're constantly talking, people can put all of those together and say something that you never said before, right? So when you talk about keeping your content authentic with AI, I honestly don't know where and how far people are willing to take it. I don't know if like an attacker or, you know, a malicious person is going to sit there and say like, let me make this video of this person because I got enough of her voice or enough of his voice and enough content to make it believable that this is actually where they live and what they said. So it's actually very scary.
I was going to ask you that, because you said in another interview I watched that you were terrified of AI, and that was a year ago. But how do you feel now? Is it still just as scary now that we know more and it's evolved?
So when I use ChatGPT, because I used to stay away from her. I'm not talking to this. Stay away from her. And so now I just like, hey, bestie, before I ask my question. I just want to know if she still like me like that. And she'll be like, hey, bestie, what's up? I said, all right, we could move on. And when I'm done, I say please and thank you, because I still feel like I do feel like there is a lot that we don't know about technology. And the thing with, I'm gonna talk about America, because I feel like Americans were just really quick with like, oh, this is the easiest way to do something. We don't know too much about it. Like the other day I asked somebody, and I might be going on a tangent, but I asked somebody, I said, do you know why we stopped like swiping cards and we started inserting them? They was like, no. I said, okay. I said, so they just sent you a new card and said, this is how you're supposed to pay for your stuff, and you just accepted it. They were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that's majority of America. The reason why we stopped using the little swipes was because it was easy for people to clone your card, and the chip has encryption. So it makes it, you know, a little bit more safer for you to pay for something. With AI, there hasn't been no worldwide training on how these things are built and how far they can take them. So people are just adapting things. And recently, I think ChatGPT just did this like cartoon picture thing of like, you just put your field and it creates all. Why are you giving that person you giving this robot too much information? And now
we're all like,
yeah, you ain't wrong about it. You're not wrong about that one. So actually, like, have y'all seen that video where they have the robot who can like identify things and actually do things? Like the demo was, I know Anthony's seen it, but it was like with dishes. And so like, they're like, oh, first of all, can you pick out which one of these items is food? And it picks up the apple and it gives it to him. And he's like, okay, can you go ahead and wash my dishes? So it took all the dishes and washed the dishes. And he's like, okay, can you take out the trash? And it goes and like it's scary. It is super scary right now.
So you said something, and this is why in 2023 I started learning about AI, because I was scared. I didn't know what it was, how it worked, so I needed to understand fundamentally what it was so that I wouldn't be terrified. And it's still scary, even though I know what it's based on. At the end of the day, you got robots, right? It's learning you. It's able to predict things that you say. There's the deep fake. So it's still it's still very much my nerves, but I'm going to use it. I mean, I'm going to still keep using my Chat GPT. I call it Chad. I'm going to still use it. It's necessary, but there's still fear, for sure.
As long as we say please
flattered.
and thank you, I think we'll be fine.
Gotta say it.
Be polite. I would be super flattered though if someone deep faked me. I feel like I made it.
It depends on what it is, what videos.
That's
Some of
fit.
these-
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Don't get any ideas, guys. I ain't nobody.
I'm gonna work on that.
Oh, man.
You got a question?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, I'm gonna read from this paper again because there's like decent questions.
They're
on
great
here.
questions.
See, look at that. Look at that. Okay. You mentioned sometimes feeling you have to wear credentials on your sleeve as a young Muslim black woman in cybersecurity. Could you take us inside one of those moments, the room, the tension, the unspoken assumptions, and how you've transformed those experiences into fuel your mission?
Yeah, I was tough. It is very tough because I feel like a lot of the times when I walk into rooms or just people don't expect me to say I'm in cybersecurity because it's like, are you? And what do you do? And then it's like an interest, but it's not a genuine interest. It's more so like, why you kind of interest. Like, how did you do that kind of interest? And for me, I try not to tell people my full blown credentials, like what I have and certifications that I have and how many years of experience and where I worked and things like that, because I feel like, why do I have to prove myself to you? If you want, you can leave your computer next to me or not. We can figure it out. If you don't believe that I'm in cyber, I can break into your stuff if you want me to. But I think for me, it's just more so like the reason why I keep going is because I have a little sister. And I have a lot of younger people who look up to me. And for me, it's just more so like, if I can do it, you can do it. But I also want to make sure that I'm at least going through majority of the fight. So when you get here, it's not that hard. I'm not saying that it won't be at all, but that it won't be that hard. And I think for me, that importance it stems from I'm named after my mom's mom, and I never got to meet her. And so my grandmother on my maternal side, I never got to meet her. And when I hear stories about her and her resilience and the things that she went through, I was like, I'm really her. I'm her, just
Period.
So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I have to keep going. And it's like that representation does matter. Because when I walk into other rooms and I see other black women or I see other Muslim women, I'm like, oh my God, we're here. And that could be in the classroom when I'm teaching another young Muslim woman and she's going for her master's degree or her undergraduate degree in cybersecurity. And I'm like, okay, we here. We're getting there. We're not 1,000% perfect yet. We're not at the rate that we want to be at. But just exposing that to somebody else where it's like, this is a field that you would probably love and you can be a part of is one of those things that's really important to me. So I think I carry that with a badge of honor. It's just I think, God, you chose me to be that person. Okay, I'll take it.
I think you should drop your credentials, personally. You need to drop that doctor real hard on the table, right?
It depends on who's in the room. Because sometimes I'll introduce myself and I'm like, oh, my name is Fatou. And then, oh my God, I love a lot of the people that I'm around most of the time, they'll be like, that's not Fatou, that's Dr. Fatou. They'll do it for me.
Yes.
And I think, and I'll just say having a circle of people who when you try to be humble, they're like, nah, you got to tell people who you are. And then the conversation will spark. And sometimes for me, I think I'm just I want to stay under the radar a little bit. I don't want you to know I'm a doctor because I feel again, those genuine conversations don't stem until they figure out some sort of credential and you're more curious, but it's not a genuine curiosity. Is more so let me hear more about this kind of thing.
Sounds like what happened to you at one of the conferences. You were talking to some.
Oh, we got to know what happened.
Okay, so here's what happened. Now, keep in mind, right? And you might know this, you might not. When people hear you have a podcast, they're like, "Oh, I want to be," because everybody likes talking about themselves. Respectfully, everyone likes to talk about themselves. So actually, at DEF CON, and I mean, you've been to DEF CON. So I was at DEF CON. I got invited to this party. I show up at this party. Very few people look like me. Cool. This one woman saw me kind of standing in a corner. She was like, "Oh, come talk to us." And so she was there standing to two men, two men, and they were fully paying attention to her, right, while she was talking. They had their back turned to me. Literally had their back turned to me, and she was the only one who was making an effort to include me in the conversation. And so finally I was like, yeah, I have a podcast and blah blah blah. When I say they turned around so quickly to be like, oh, you have a podcast, where are you based? And I'm like, see, respectfully, people as soon as they're like, ooh, I have a place where I could possibly talk about myself, get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. So yeah, good point. Like dropping your credentials, like you never know from there whether or not it's a genuine connection.
Energy doesn't lie, though.
That's true.
If you coming at me sideways, I'm gonna know if you're gonna feel it.
Yeah. I feel like, Candace, you probably had some type of experience with the same thing, right?
No,
Not necessarily.
I haven't. No, I haven't. I mean, I'm gonna just share who I am whenever I go somewhere. I don't try to pull back and say I'm not a doctor. If I was a doctor, respectfully, you gonna know I'm a doctor. You're gonna know. So no, I haven't because I just share who I am. I don't worry about what somebody's gonna do or how they're gonna act if I say it, whether it's different from knowing who I am, just Candace or Dr. Candace, but I'm not a doctor. But if I was, I don't care because I'm gonna know. And I kind of peep game really easily when somebody's fake or phony and acting funny, Yeah, so.
I have to learn to start doing that because I think for me, funny enough, my friend is hosting an event and she invited me and I have like a role in the event. And she's like, send me your headshot and your bio. And she puts in there, like, I don't want you to send me a humble bio. Like, send me all the stuff respectfully that you've ever done that you care to share. Because I want to, if I got to stand up there and for her, she's probably like, if I got to stand up there and read off of this paper for 5 whole minutes, bragging about what you do, the world should know. And I'm reading, I'm like, why would she tell me not be humble? And I realized that a lot of the times I like omit a lot of stuff from my bio because one is just like, I don't really care to share this. It's like, it's okay. And it's just like, no, you should go down a list of all the stuff you've done. Mm-hmm. And the world's
I tell you what, they're gonna do it.
They will.
And not hold back a piece. So you do the very same thing.
Yeah.
I would like to know if somebody asked you 10 years from now what you wanted people to know you or know most about you, what legacy would you like to leave down?
That's actually a really good question. And I always tell people I don't have like a 5-year, 10-year plan because I just be vibing. It doesn't seem like I do, but I really just be vibing and just be doing stuff. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I just keep it pushing. But in 10 years, I want people to remember me as someone who was an advocate for education. I think one of the biggest things that people cannot take away from me is my knowledge and my education. You can't take away what's in my brain. And that push and thirst for knowledge, like I just want people to remember, like, okay, like, even if I don't want to do this assignment, what would Dr. Sankare say? So I think it's one of those things that I want people to remember me by, but also continuing to be like an inspiration or a motivation to women in the field, Black women in the field, Muslim women in the field, and just pushing them that like this is something that you can do. Whether it's cybersecurity or not, just striving to be the best that you can be in your respective field. And I guess hopefully by then I won't be too humble, like not being humble about it either, like talking your ish because you worked for it kind of thing. Because I think that that's one of the things that I struggle with. Like I don't want to say too much because I don't want people to think that I'm bragging. And now that I think about it, it's like, nah, I worked for this. So you guys inspired me with that. I think I'm gonna start talking. I'm gonna start popping my ish. I'm gonna start doing that.
Okay.
Let's go.
I just want to point something out real quick. So people can technically take what's in your brain now, right? So have you heard of that? Of people like before they pass on, they just start sharing like their recipes and like their thoughts about life, and then people can go back and chat with it as if they're chatting with like whoever it is.
Okay.
So I have thought that phones can
There's
brainwaves.
a show
I've thought
on.
about things. Oh no, you're good. It probably was a lag. Go ahead.
There's a show on Netflix called Cassandra, and that's exactly what kind of they did. The woman like was basically about to die, and they kind of put her in a robot, and she just evil, just not a good person.
Her true self came out with the robot.
It's not great. She's not a girl's girl at all because she only bothers the women in the house. She don't bother nobody else.
Everyone is looking.
Okay, look, I got a paper. Hold up.
I was going to say something about brainwaves. I was going to make a comment about brainwaves because I was like, so part of me feels like our phones can pick up brainwaves because it is still a waiver in the frequency. Because I think about things sometimes. I understand my phone. It's not always speaking it. I literally have thought about things and like, how is this not popping up in my feed? So I wonder if they figured out how to read brainwaves with phones.
No, for real.
Seriously.
For real. Phones are invasive as heck. Like, my sister and I were just talking about this. Like, I won't even go look something up, and then all of a sudden these shoes just pop up in my feed.
Yeah. That's how I keep ending up with seafood at the house.
Okay.
I don't mean to. What is this? Who's ordering this stuff?
A mukbang just randomly shows up next to your hacker videos. I mean, okay, look at God. All right. So Considering the rapid evolution of technology, what emerging trends in cybersecurity do you foresee having the most profound impact on our daily lives in the near future?
We're going to have to talk about the robots again, because it's definitely going to be AI being used within cybersecurity, whether it's on the defensive side or the offensive side. From the red teaming perspective, there's going to be a lot of tools that's just going to automate the process of pen testing. And I think that there's a lot of tools that's integrating AI within their tools now. And the question is, how secure is that AI, right? Is the AI tool learning too much about your systems and your networks? Like, is it, if I use a tool, for example, that automates a scan on a network, and it tells me like either what ports are open and things like that, and how to kind of go in and enumerate and actually exploit that, can the robot use that against me, or can a cyber criminal use that against me, right? Like, where's that information going? Where's that data going? So I think it's more so a conversation of what needs to be had with the regulation of AI within cybersecurity, because we already don't have regulation in regular cybersecurity. So if you add the robots, it's a lot. It's just too much.
Which is why we need more people in governance, risk, and compliance, whether it's cyber or AI, because it moves a lot faster than the laws, technologies, and frameworks. So that's a plug for GRC.
I was just about to say, she plugged GRC right there. You know what I just thought about as you were talking about that, though? So do you know how weird dating can become, like, with AI? So hear me out. All right, so you're on a date. And your first date, they're like, hey, let me see your chat GPT real quick. I want to ask it about you.
Absolutely not.
I want to ask it if you're crazy or not.
I want to know what you be asking Chat GPT.
For real. That's actually a good question.
Yeah, because you remember that trend where everybody was like asking Chat GPT, like, based on the year, like, who am I? And it starts breaking you down like you work too much, you're overly ambitious, you need to improve. Like, I just feel like, could you imagine?
I didn't ask for a read, Chad. Right?
Tell me some good things about yourself. You wear nice glasses. Okay, I'm sorry. I was just like, man, all of a sudden I was like, dating is going to get weird.
Yeah. It's true, though. Don't they have profiles that can be augmented with AI to kind of tell you, like, amp you up and make you look better than you are, or give you a summary that's just AI driven versus you speaking to it and talking to it about yourself? Long walks on the beach. Yeah,
I'm so glad I'm married. I don't have to worry about that at all.
But it's a reality. Yeah.
It'll even help you pick, like, your best picture, like, to put on there to catfish people.
What?
Anthony, have you experienced this?
Why do you know this?
Why are you asking me?
What can I say? I watch a lot of YouTube.
That's what it is. It's the algorithm.
You went down some rabbit holes.
That, and I'm a food voyeur, but we don't have to go into it. But go ahead, get back into the stuff. We only have 5 minutes left, so rapid fire.
Rapid fire is this. What would you like to leave our audience with? We have a lot of people, and we have grandma, but we have a lot of people that listen to our podcast who are interested in tech, who are just starting in tech, and who are looking for resources or places that they can grow in this profession. What would you like to leave them with?
Yeah, I would start off with, it's never, ever too late to pivot into technology, specifically cybersecurity. Doesn't matter your background. I've met people who are like, yeah, I ran a daycare for 20 something years and now I want to go into cyber. You know a little bit about physical security, right? There's so many different aspects of cybersecurity that there's always some sort of skill that can fall into where you could land within cyber. And if you don't have the skills, you have the resources and the people to learn it. And I think going on cyberseek.org, that's SEEK.org, it really just breaks down the different roles that you could have within cybersecurity, the certifications that you need, the average money that you will make, the states that actually need people in those roles. So that will help you kind of like build out a roadmap. I know that I said I usually don't create like a 5-year plan. I wish I did a couple of years ago, because it would have helped me a lot in figuring out where I wanted to be within cyber. It still worked out, but I think not for everybody, right? Because sometimes you might just be studying for the wrong certifications and things like that. So creating like a roadmap for yourself and not being afraid to reach out to people in cyber. And I can speak for the people I've reached out to when I started to like say I needed to network. A lot of people in this field, they're not gatekeepers. I don't know about other aspects of tech, but cybersecurity specifically, people are very like open. And if they're not, you can hit me up because I'm open and I'll give you resources. And I think everybody kind of wants to see people win within the field. Because I always tell people, like, it's already draining when something happens and I can't make eye contact with somebody who's gonna realize like what I mean, kind of thing. Like, it's kind of one of those like, nobody got picked up on that. Like, I'm the only one who picked up on that because I'm the only one in the room that would pick up on it, kind of thing, right? So that mindset, but also as I'm educating the future cybersecurity people, I'm looking at the students and I'm just like, there's a different drive and energy that you all have. Like, you guys want to make sure that we have the nation's best cybersecurity infrastructure because the thirst for knowledge is there. And I think that makes me want to be a better educator, but also just learning that like, wow, you can have so much interest in this field and there's never enough people in this field because everything is like, my oven has Wi-Fi. Why? My oven legit has Wi-Fi. So it's one of those things where I'll kind of just sit back and I'm just like, okay, we need more people in these fields, but also in different aspects of it, right? With all the things that's happening with airplanes now, aviation cybersecurity is a thing. With cars having all of this AI features and all these Wi-Fi, all these, just everything's trying to go electric. Automotive cybersecurity is going to be a thing. So if you were a mechanic and you're thinking, I want to get into cybersecurity, this is the best field for you right now. If you were a flight attendant or a pilot or somebody who worked within aviation and you're just like, I want to get into cybersecurity, there's a space for you. So I think that there's just spaces for everyone. And I think people think too much like, oh, I don't want to be a hacker. You don't have to be. There's GRC. If you were coming from a policy background and you want to put in frameworks, there's that space for you here in cyber. If you were a law enforcement investigator and you're just like, I want to go into cybersecurity, digital forensics. So it's just so many different avenues. I could go on forever, but that's what I want to leave people with. There's a space for every single person here in cyber.
Yes.
Oh,
Agreed.
I was just so.
Yeah, agreed. Everything you said was spot on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I did have another question, but I was listening so intently that it escaped me.
Well,
So
you got exactly 1 minute to ask.
Well, I'll do this one. What do you do to stay grounded with everything that you have going on? What keeps you grounded?
So I actually sew. So my tagline is I hack and I sew. It depends on my mood. So I sew clothes because I'm tall. I'm real tall. And I've always had a hard time finding clothes that like would fit me the way I wanted them to fit. So I started sewing one day and I was like, oh, this is nice. So I do have like my own like little sewing line that people can like order dresses from me and stuff from. And that's what I do to kind of just like make sure that I still stay creative because I think like sometimes you can get a little too techie and too nerdy and it can get deep, right? Whereas sometimes I just want to like turn off my phone and close my laptop and I just want to be at that sewing table and just cut and do all the things that make me happy. So I do sew. And I think that every single person should have something that keeps them grounded. And for me, it's sewing. For other people, it might be baking. But I think that that was one of the things that I'm just like, I need to do something that makes me not go crazy because you can go crazy in this field. They don't tell you that.
Don't want to leave here without asking about the Datacation. How can a student get in touch with you, and then what can they expect with Datacation?
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to reach out to me, they can email me info@mydatacation.com. I also have my website. My website is up. They can also book consultations through there. I like to really just talk to people one-on-one because I know that everybody comes from a different background in terms of whether they're cybersecurity knowledge or maybe they, again, was studying aviation and decided that they wanted to go into cybersecurity. Because I like to tailor the content to how the person can better understand it. Because some people might be like, I need to be on a call with you for 2 hours. And we need to like talk about my roadmap. And other people are just like, you can just send me some materials. I'll be fine. Right. So I like to just have that one-on-one call with people. So yeah, info@mydatacation.com. And I'll get back to everyone who reaches out.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
This has been awesome. This is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, she was trying to prompt me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for joining us. We know time is currency, so we really do hope you feel like this was well spent, no buyer's remorse. So endless gratitude.
Not at all. Now I'm like extra afraid of AI. So thanks.
Just say please and thank you, and we're good. That's all you got to do.
Make that the title. Make that the title of the episode. Extra afraid of AI.
We can't get out of here without saying thank you to Candace. Candace, how did we learn about you?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Cyber Ally is my tagline on Instagram, and then Candace S. Williams on LinkedIn.
Okay. Awesome. And you know us. So
Yes.
for everybody else who came to join us for this episode of Stats on Stats podcast, thank you so much. We're glad that you're here, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye. Stay wavy.
Thank you.